The Jacksonville Jaguars will go to the Detroit Lions on Sunday, November 20th in Week 11 NFL action. This may sound shocking, but the Detroit Lions are now tied for first place in the NFC North, and they should strengthen that lead with the game against Jacksonville, who is really struggling. The Jacksonville Jaguars do not put together 60 minutes of football often enough to be any kind of factor in the AFC South, and with a 2-7 record, Gus Bradley is definitely on the hot seat. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 2-7 straight up, 3-5-1 against the spread, and 6-3 on the over-under. The Jaguars are headed up by Bradley, the former defensive coordinator with the Seattle Seahawks, and the team spent some money in the offseason in an attempt to improve a defense that was lacking. They brought in some personnel, and to some extent the yields have been positive, as this team has allowed only 9.2 yards per completion, which is the best number of its type in the NFL. And when you rank number 8 overall in total defense, you should be expecting better results than they have gotten. There is a flip side to all this, as Jacksonville has made enough physical and mental mistakes to fill an entire season already. They have been flagged for the second most penalty yards in the NFL, and on offense, they have not been efficient enough, having to gain almost 18 yards per every point scored. As a way of kickstarting this offense, Bradley fired offensive coordinator Greg Olsen and replaced him with Nathaniel Hackett. But there is a very real possibility that quarterback Blake Bortles can't hack it, pardon the pun. He had 2 more interceptions last week against the Texans, bringing his season total to 11. And for a guy who had a reputation as a gunslinger, he doesn't really get the ball down the field very much. He threw 49 times against Houston for only 265 yards. He does have at least one receiver who requires extra attention at night from defensive coordinators in coming up with the game plan. Allen Robinson caught 9 throws for 107 yards last week, and he will draw in all likelihood Darius Slay, the Detroit cornerback who has emerged as one of the best at his position in the NFL. The team was expecting an upgrade in the backfield with the acquisition of Chris Ivory to join TJ Yeldon, but Ivory has had a bumpy road, missing early season games due to personal issues. And after a very nice effort in which he had over 100 yards against Kansas City, he got only 31 yards last week. This is a team that has scored more than 21 points only 3 times in 9 games, and in the NFL these days, that simply isn't going to get the job done. Over the last 2 weeks, Jacksonville has allowed a total of 504 yards, and they could well offer up a big challenge to Matthew Stafford with their secondary. The Detroit Lions come in at 5-4 straight up, 4-1 against the spread, and 4-5 on the over-under. Matthew Stafford, who has completed 67.3% of his passes on the way to 2,373 yards, has really flourished since the team made a decision to change offensive coordinators last season. Stafford, in fact, has 35 touchdown passes with only 6 interceptions in his last 15 games. So when it comes to signal callers, the Lions have a very distinct advantage in terms of efficiency.